In this video, we will learn the requirements for patenting business method inventions as per the CRI guidelines, learn to recognize the shortfall in drafting claims, and finally, how to overcome that deficiency in the drafted claims so that your claim becomes patentable. As we have covered in the previous videos, the CRI guidelines prescribe a structured approach for determining whether the claimed subject matter is patentable or non-patentable with respect to exclusions under Section 3K. Now, just to recapitulate Section 3K, under this section of the patent law, the four categories mathematical method, business method, algorithm, and computers program per se inventions are categorized as non-patentable under the Indian Patents Act. So, the challenge is to overcome the exclusions as demarcated in Section 3K. So, in this video, we will see that if we have a business method based invention, then how do we draft a patent claim which will withstand the scrutiny of the Patent Office with respect to the exclusions under Section 3K. So we are here going to consider the business method inventions. So let us first try to understand what do we mean by the business method in respect to the CRI guidelines. It is a generic term here which covers the whole gamut of activities in both commercial or industrial enterprises that could be related to the transaction of goods and services, for example, supply chain, commerce, payments, etc. Now, with regard to the CRI guidelines, now we consider that how do we go about the patentability if we have a business method based invention. Now, the methodology as outlined in the CRI guidelines is that to take the decision whether the given invention is patentable or non-patentable, we will depend on firstly evaluating what actually that claimed invention is claiming, that is the substance of the claimed invention, and after defining the substance, what is the core contribution which that claim is claiming or is being made for that invention. The key guiding factor in assessing whether that invention is patentable or non-patentable is to determine firstly the core of the invention and then assess the core of the invention to see whether it is a mere commercial strategy or it is this core of the invention is providing a technical solution to a identified technical problem, and that too through technical means. So with this background, let us now proceed to take a few illustrations about the business method based invention and their their patentability aspect. So for example, we take an online movie ticket booking which is for which a claim has been put forward. Now here if the claim is outlined as a method of allowing customers to reserve cinema online. Now as would be easy to understand, there is no technical effect. It is just basically a business procedure to reserve cinema seats online through which the customer is given a ticket on payment. But if we are going to forward such a kind of a claim, then obviously it would not withstand the exclusion under Section 3K and hence would be non-patentable. But to make it patentable, if we introduce some kind of a technical effect, for example, if we could use this methodology of booking tickets for dynamically allocating seat allocation, or in this method helps in covering out the low latency of the server architecture, or better still, we create this method to avoid duplication or to secure digital payments, with the net result that the technical effect of such a claim would solve double booking problem or improve system efficiency or security, then this claim would fall within the applicability of patentability. Right? So we can draft a claim such that an online booking system that uses a real-time seat allocation algorithm, by saying that it is using a real-time seat allocation algorithm, we are putting the methodology outlined here above for online movie ticket booking into this algorithm with a low latency server architecture. That means improving system efficiency or and ensuring that no two users can book the same seat, that is avoiding duplication of the seat and providing secure digital payments. So as you can see that we have used the same methodology to secure a technical effect so that it falls within the realm of patentability. Another example we'll take is, suppose we calculate insurance premium. So a simple claim, a method of calculating insurance premiums based on customer profile. Now this again would not be patentable because it's just a method of calculating insurance premiums depending on the customer profile, which would qualify under as an ordinary business method. But how do we introduce a technical effect? Suppose we use this methodology to analyze the customer profile and build up a database whereby millions of customer profiles can be built in that data set. And using this methodology, we calculate the insurance premiums, let us say instantaneously, or any updation in the insurance premiums could be manifested in calculating the premiums chargeable for millions of customers simultaneously. Then here in this case, we are using insurance costs in just the business context, but the novelty would be in the distributed real-time computation which is applied on the secure database. So we could read the claim like this: a system, that means we are creating a system that uses a secure distributed database with real-time analytics. That means any change in the insurance premiums can be applied simultaneously to all the customer profiles which have been stored in that customer database and update insurance premiums dynamically for millions of customers simultaneously. So we hope that with these two illustrations you would have got an idea that how the business method inventions could be claimed so as to have a better chance at patentability. So again, to recapitulate, we'll just try to see that as per the CRI guidelines, how do we assess the business method based inventions. Likewise, the very first step would be to construe the substance of the claimed invention. This implies that firstly we read the claim holistically and then we make the following ask: what is the invention trying to achieve? Not what is perceived through plain reading of the claim. Then second thing is, what problem is it solving? With these two asks, we try to evaluate the invention substance. And the better way to do is that given the claim, we'll break down the whole claim into the parts which are essential and which are non-essential. And then once we have determined the substance, we try to locate the core of the invention. What actually is the core of the invention? What is the real inventive concept that is differentiating it from the prior art? So summarizing this step one, what is that thing we are looking? We are firstly looking for the objective, the solution being offered to cover that objective, and within the solution, what is the core inventive part of that solution? Once we have identified the core part, we'll move to step 2. In this, we assess the identified core to determine whether that core is primarily an administrative, commercial, or a business strategy, or the core of the claimed invention in its essence is a technical improvement to an already underlying system or a new process or a new system which uses that business context only as a constraint to define the scope of the invention, meaning thereby that the business method is being used to put a technical effect as part of the solution so that there is a tangible improvement either into that system or the process. So with this identified core being determined as a business part or a part with a technical effect, we try to come to the conclusion. Now there are only two possibilities: whether the identified core is a business or administrative strategy, or the core is it offers a technical solution or improvement. In the first case, it would be totally non-patentable. It won't stand the exclusion under section 3K, but in case of the B, it would be potentially patentable. So this is the way that the business method invention is identified, and through this methodology, when we are drafting a claim, we could ourselves determine whether it would withstand the scrutiny of the patent office or not. Now we'll take a real example of a business method based invention. Suppose we take a system we file a claim for system for dynamic pricing of online advertisements. Now just to understand the overview of what this system actually does is that we have online profile of online advertisements by which we know we have got a historical data by which we know that these advertisements are there for the prime slots, the non-prime slots, or by any other timing frame which can be applied to this. Now with this historical perspective, this system has a methodology by which dynamic online bids are continuously received. Now depending on the demand which are reflected through the bids, we'll try to match them against the prime time online advertisements and non-prime time advertisements, so that we'll optimize the revenue which can be generated through this system. So now let us try to see that what this system would entail. Firstly, this system would require a computing mechanism which could be a server computer with process and memory, the database by which the financial data and the advertisement performance data could be there, then pricing engine module, whereby this primarily means that the pricing correlation with the online advertisements could be framed by the business method, by the rules governing that business method. This has to be stored in the memory and executable by the processor, configured to, firstly, it will receive real-time bid data from plurality of advertisers, that is multiple advertisers can put in their bids simultaneously. Then it would store the historical performance data from the various multiple advertisement slots. Then the business method rules, which will match the real-time bid data to the historical performance of the data to calculate a dynamic pricing for the advertisement slot, meaning thereby this business method, if there is demand is very high, then the corresponding advertisement slots would be matched to that, so that the maximum bid can be received for the specific advertisement slots. High performance data, if the demand is high, they can be matched with the higher pricing. And finally, you need to output that the allocation has to be done, that okay, for this bid, this advertisement slot has been booked. So we'll just put the claim is formatted out there, you can read it out there. It basically covers all this. Now we examine the above claim for patentability as per methodology prescribed under CRI guidelines, which we just explained. So very first thing is that we construe the substance of the claimed invention. So reading the claim holistically, what is the objective? It facilitates the dynamic pricing and placement of online advertisements through a network system that optimizes revenue generation. So as we mentioned, it is basically matching the bids with the specific advertisement slot which is available. But this is the objective. You are optimizing the revenue generation and matching the bids received with the online advertisement. That is, you are basically maximizing revenue generation depending on the demand and supply quotient which is there. So what is the real essence of the claim and what problem it is trying to solve? These two questions are our asks for determining the substance of the invention. So, in the first case, the process is receiving real-time bid data from multiple advertisements. Then, simultaneously, it is retrieving historical performance metrics for the advertisement slots in accordance with the predefined business rules. And based on those business rules, it calculates an optimal dynamic price for each advertisement slot. If the bids are higher, bids are higher, then as per the business rules, it will dynamically allocate the higher bids to the specific advertisement slots. So this processing automates the advertising slot allocation and pricing as per the market dynamics, resulting in maximizing your revenue. So the substance of the invention is a method of optimizing advertising pricing and allocation. So once now we have determined the substance of this claim, we'll try to differentiate the claim into secondary and non-secondary elements comprising this claim. So the core elements would be server, the processing part, plus memory, the database which is going to store advertiser financial performance data, business rule being applied through the pricing engine which is applied to the bids plus historical data. It calculates dynamic pricing for ad slots and finally gives you the output, which is the result with the specific pricing slot matched with the maximum bids received, highest bids received. So once with this we have broken this thing, now we assess, wanting to move to the assessment part of this core element. But before that, we need to crystallize the core so that the assessment becomes easy. So let us make a few observations. This claim is essentially about managing advertisement pricing and allocation. The technical components, they are generic in nature. There is nothing specific technical component which is required, and the actual novelty, if it is going to be there, is going to be the pricing engine. But the pricing engine is being driven through the ordinary basis rules, which is matching bids received to the performance data of the various slots. So hence the core of this claim is, it is a commercial business strategy for settling advertisement prices dynamically based on the bids plus past performance of the advertisement slots. Now we test the identified core. If we are going to apply these business rules to the real-time bid data and historical performance data for working out the pricing for ad slots. So with this process involves strategic commercial decisions relating to pricing and advertisement placement. Now we see this is, if it is a commercial decision which is related to pricing and advertisement, these are nothing but the core aspects of business method, specifically a marketing and revenue generation strategy, and the system on which it is operating. They are just standard computing tools and serves as computational framework to implement these business rules. So now we can very well see that the identified core is just a business method put into practice for a commercial decision, that is to maximize the revenue generation. There is no technical effect or a technical approach being adopted toward it, because it is run on two standard computing tools. So hence as part 3 we can conclude the following, that there is no technical effect beyond executing pricing logic. The primary objective is to optimize financial outcomes in advertising through the business method. This claim improves revenue management, not the underlying technical system performance. They are just ordinary standard systems. Hence, as we had concluded, this would fall under the non-patentable category and would not withstand the exclusion under section 3K, which is the business method exclusion. Hence, it would be difficult to get this claim to clear the scrutiny under the patent office. So with this, we have outlined the methodology by which a claim for a business method invention could be analyzed and assessed to see whether it would be worthy to file an application with this claim or not. So, how do we make a transform this claim into a potentially patentable claim? Now, for this, we need to show that the pricing engine, that the pricing business method produces a technical effect. That could be in the form of it reduces the network latency in real-time bidding systems. That is, we use this calculation business method to improve the efficiency of the our server itself. Maybe it uses less memory, or the business method is formulated in such a manner that less rough RAM is used so that it expedites the whole thing. Or we could improve the scalability. We could use this business method in such a manner on a system where instead of a few hundreds, it can simultaneously handle bids possibly into millions. That is, from the domestic bidders, we can create a system using the very same business method receiving from across different geographical area. Or it could enhance the security of the bid data transmission, or it can optimize its server resource allocation, as we mentioned, less memory CPU usage, which could be part of the earlier mentioned network latency, where it expedites the whole thing. So, in nutshell, if you want to make it a potential patentable claim, then you need to reframe this claim to emphasize a technical solution to a technical problem in ad serving infrastructure. And the business rules are to be used only merely as a context. Then only this would stand scrutiny of the patent office and would become eligible for patentability. So here, as you can see, that we have outlined the methodology by which a claim can be decoded, and if there is a deficiency which is determined either by the assessment of the core, then we can hypothetically make a few transformations or changes to make it potentially patentable. So to help you develop this capability and competency, we have brought in this book wherein a lot of examples have been taken which have been worked out so that non-patentable claims can be modified or transformed into potentially patentable claims. Now, this aspect is very important for the patent agent aspirants also, because in the new format it is very much likely that the patent agent examination paper 2 is going to ask questions based on modification of the claims or on the invention based on new technology. So hence, to help patent agent exam aspirants and the inventors build competence in framing good claims for the patent application, we have come out with this book, Patenting Emerging Technologies from Algorithms to Quantum Inventions. This book does not merely explain the law. It shows you how to work about patentability challenge in real world scenarios. As for example, in the last few slides, we have transformed a non-patentable business method invention claim into a potentially patentable claim. So, through this book, you can refer many examples so as to clearly determine the deficiency in the claim and methodology or the technique to transform that non-patentable claim into potentially patentable claim. This book will also help you strategize and draft specifications for the new emerging technology inventions. And as mentioned, this book would be helpful for the patent agent exam aspirants, especially in the new format, the students of patent law, primarily because this is the era of new emerging technologies. So if you want to really stay abreast, then you better equip yourself with the knowledge or knowledge for patenting these new emerging technologies and the requirements of the patent office. Inventors, primarily because you have got the biggest stake of all. You really want to get patent for the invention which you are going to build the application for. You really do not want to get involved into anything except for feeling that your applications passes on smoothly and withstand the scrutiny of the examiner at the patent office. The requirement of drafting specifications for these new emerging technologies have been really worked out by taking a lot of practical examples of these such technologies. So, this book firstly explains CRI provisions in simple structured manner. It analyzes a lot of new emerging technology inventions. It provides drafting strategies to overcome section 3K. Now this is very important primarily because the criteria for drafting strategies which were through which the application for traditional technologies were also being evaluated does not suffice for these new emerging technologies, primarily because the basic structure of all these technologies, the processes and even the systems through these emerging technologies are coming is different. So hence the practical aspects of drafting strategies, the requirements, the do's and don'ts, the red flags when you are building a drafting strategy or building up these specifications, they become very important. The criteria being used to draft strategies for traditional technologies does not hold for these new emerging technologies. So for this, you need to understand that what is the requirement of the patent office and how best to describe these new emerging technologies. Then only you would stand a chance to get a patent or pass through the patent agent examination. Further, important case laws and IPO practices have also been discussed in this book. So with the help of CRI provisions explanation, analyzing of new emerging technologies, practical drafting strategies, case laws, this book helps you bridge the gap between the technology and the patent law, primarily the requirements of the patent office presently. So hence, we feel that the patent agent exam aspirants, the patent professionals and attorney, and primarily as we outlined above, the technology innovators who are wanting to build a good application, patent application for grant of the patent, would stand benefited with this book. This book would not be an optional reading given the importance of new emerging technologies out there. It is a strategic asset for your professional success. If you really want to do good, then you better equip yourselves with the latest developments of the patent office and the requirements of these patenting emerging technologies for achieving more professional success. This book is now available on Amazon. You can search by title on the Google, or there is a link which has been described in the description. So hence, finally, if you want clarity, confidence and competence in patenting new age technologies, this book belongs to your desk. And to help you build competence with confidence and clarity for building drafting strategies, we want you to associate yourself in this journey of this playlist, wherein we are going to take in a lot of examples for inventions based on new emerging technologies. We'll try to analyze some sample claims into that, and also outline the methodology specific to the new emerging technologies and how to transform that claim into a patentable claim which withstand the scrutiny of the examiner of the patent office. So if you really want to build the competence, we ask you to partner with us in this journey and subscribe to our channel. So thank you for your time. Thank you.